Hi there, Erin Lee here of heavenlymessenger.com, bringing you this week's Tune In and Tune Up Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure for me to be able to connect with you in this way, and I'm grateful for the time that you're taking out of your busy day to come and spend with me. Just really quickly, I want to welcome everybody from all of the different platforms that we're streaming to this evening. So we're streaming to my Heavenly Messenger Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, and also to YouTube. So I noticed last week, or we weren't live last week, the week before, a couple of people were saying, I can't see where these comments are coming from. And that's because they're coming from three different places. So, you may not be the next one according to what you're seeing, because I'm getting comments from a couple of other places at the same time. So thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to the YouTube viewers. It's so exciting to be able to connect with you in this way. It's been a while since I've done anything on YouTube, so thank you for joining me. I'm Erin Lee of heavenlymessenger.com. If you're asking a question this evening, please ask a specific question. I only have a couple of minutes with each person, and so if you're asking a question like, can you pick a card for me, or do you have any messages coming up for me, I don't do that. So please ask a specific question. What's happening in my love life? I'm with a partner X, or I'm looking for a partner. When do you see that happening? Those would be more the types of specific questions that I'd be able to do something with in the short amount of time that we have together. If you would like me to use a particular deck, please mention it in the comment, not in a second comment, because I'm not going to see it. Your card choices for the evening are the green deck, which is the messages from your angels. We've got the yellow deck, which is the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we have the blue deck, which is the Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card deck. So when we were on, not last week, but the week before, as I was shuffling the cards, I believe it was at the beginning, there was a card that jumped out, and I completely forgot about it at the end of the show because I was going to go on and share what the card was. And I don't usually use this studio space except for the tune in and tune up. So I didn't see this card until just now as I was sitting down getting ready for our connection time together. I thought, man, first of all, the card deck should have all of the cards in it when we're doing readings. But also it'd be really interesting to see what that card was that jumped out, and to see if it still has relevance for where we are right now. And so the card that fell out is the Life Review card. This is Archangel Jeremiel. His message is, take inventory of your life and resolve to change or heal anything is unbalanced, that is unbalanced rather. And it doesn't matter what's going on in life. I find this to be a really encouraging, helpful, and supportive message. And certainly there has been a lot of stuff that's been shaking up, things coming up to the surface, things to explore. We've just recently had the new moon, which tends to be a time that's introspective when we're wanting to withdraw within ourselves and connect more with that internal energy. So it's a really great time to be looking at what your priorities are and making sure that your resources are going into the things that are most important to you. So resources for me includes, not only things on a material level like money and finances, and but also other resources as well, like your time, your energy, your mental space and capacity. So making sure that you are energetically investing in the things that are most important to you. I want to pull a couple of other cards. Actually, we're going to pull one from each of the decks just to see what messages we have coming up for us this week. So the first card that I'm pulling is from the messages from your angels, and we have the Astara card here. So when Astara comes up, she's really telling us that it's important to reach for the stars, not to compromise, and not to talk ourselves down. Often we'll have this big thought, this big idea, and we start to whittle it down. It's like, okay, I really want this, but this and this and this and this. And we end up kind of talking ourselves down into something that is far less than what it is that we're wanting to create. And often there are limiting beliefs that are involved in that process. So either experiences that we've had in the past, other people's skepticisms, possibly our own skepticisms. And so what I would encourage you to do is over the next week, if you find yourself kind of whittling yourself down, bringing yourself back, reining yourself in, ask yourself, is this something that is coming from a place of fear because I'm afraid that I can't have this? Or is this something that I can work on? Our dreams tend to be a really good indicator of where we can be putting our energy if we're wanting to create new circumstances and situations in our lives. And then the next card we're going to pull from the Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card deck. I love this card. This literally is one of my favorite cards in this deck. It's the Blessed Change card. And I'm not sure if you can see it too clearly, but basically we have this mermaid and she's literally upside down. There's the light that's coming up here at the top, but she's kind of down at the bottom. But if you take a really close look, even though life is upside down, she's still there. She's smiling. When this card comes up, it's usually because things feel like they're out of place, they're out of order, they're not as we would choose for them to be, or what we would what we're wanting to create for ourselves. And sometimes it feels incredibly uncomfortable. I liken this card to organizing. When you organize a room or a space, you pull everything out. You see exactly what you have. You go through some purging before you start organizing and putting things back into the way that you want it to be. And this card is talking about that disorganized mess. And basically what it's saying is things might be feeling really chaotic right now, but it's chaotic to bring new order, to bring things about. And often the true changes, the big changes, don't happen smoothly or easily. There's usually several different steps to the process. So the more that we can kind of step back, relax, and release the need to hold on to, or to control, or to push, or to force, or to impose a specific agenda, the easier it is for us to cope and deal with what's happening around us to help create that new situation. When you start to pull the stressful aspects out of it, things move a lot more smoothly. All right, so that's our check-in for the week. We had life review, so taking a look to see where your energy is going, making sure that it's in alignment with what you're wanting to create for yourself, the things that are most important for you. We had reach for the stars with a star coming up, and we also had the blessed change, that things might be feeling a little bit chaotic, but to know that good things are coming out of the shifts and adjustments that we're experiencing right now. Awesome. Let's pop in and take a look and connect with people who have popped on this evening. So big shout out and hello to Tanya. Hi, Tanya. It's great to see you. BJ, Michelle, Sue, Kai, Nicole, Amber. It's so good to see all of you guys this evening. Thank you for joining me. Hello to Shelly and Kathy and Kai and Tanya and Amber. And we've got Karin as well. It is so good to see all of you this evening. Thank you for joining me. All right, so let's take a look here. So hello to Tanya, and we've got BJ here. Hi, BJ. Thanks for joining me. BJ saying, what do you see for me and my girlfriend? We are having a bad spot, and I just want to make sure we are going to be okay. All right, let's take a look and see what we've got going on with you and your girlfriend. So first of all, when I tap in, it feels like there's a bit of miscommunication that's happening, and it almost feels like every time you guys go to talk about something, it almost feels like there's a misunderstanding that kind of brews from it. I have a bit of argument. It feels like you're also walking over the same path over and over again. So it feels like that part of that is going to need to stop in order for you to move forward. So as soon as you start to recognize that you're going through the old patterns again, so these feel like possibly arguments that you've had before that just kind of end in like a stalemate, choose peace instead. So say, hey, you know what? We've talked about this before. It feels like we need to step back and see how we can be productive, proactive together, and maneuver, look at this from a different perspective. So when I look at your relationship, it does feel like there's still some work that you guys are going to be doing, but it feels like you're coming to a new place where things are becoming less stuck and less like it feels kind of seized is the word that I want to use. So start shifting that that pattern that you're going through. The other thing that I'm seeing is getting out for a walk with each other when you're wanting to talk about things, or when you're just wanting to connect with each other. It feels like that's really important. Not only the physical act of like walking, but also being out in the fresh air. It feels like that shifts the dynamic between the two of you, and things get on track a lot more easily. So I am seeing that relationship does feel like it will be heading in a positive direction. You are in a bit of a tricky spot right now, and that's what you've said. But it does feel like this is something that you're going to be able to overcome. Uh, don't continue to rehash the same things over and over again. It feels like that's what keeps taking you guys back to square one and is preventing you from moving forward the way that you want to. So pay attention to that. We're going to go to the magical mermaids for you. I'm just going to ask, what messages does BJ need to know about relationship with a girlfriend, and just see what do we have coming up. So the card that we have here is the Break Free card. And the message is try different ventures and experiences as a way to grow and learn. And it's really interesting because there are a couple of ways that this card can be read, particularly like with relationship and looking at things not going well. One way to look at it is to say, hey, like it's not working, break it off and move forward. I don't see that as being the message for this card. I'm seeing this as a confirmation of the messages that have already come up for you, which is breaking those patterns, those habits, and looking for other ways to engage and interact with each other. It really feels like you guys are in a place of learning and growth, and those tend not to be really comfortable times. So part of what the two of you are learning is, okay, so when we're in uncomfortable time, how can we deal with each other in a way that's supportive to both of us, while still both having our needs met, and both of us being able to feel that we're being heard and listened to and respected. So it to me, it feels like there's growth that's happening. Don't give up on the relationship yet, and keep looking for ways to continue together. BJ, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure connecting with you this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support to you and to your girlfriend. Michelle saying hello. Hi, Michelle. Great to see you. Thanks for joining me. Let me see. So, Sue, let's check in. So Sue is saying she wants so much to hear how her mom is. She passed away in December and she misses her so. Sue, I am so sorry for your mom's passing. Let's see if we can get a connection with her. And it's so funny. I was actually thinking about this at the beginning of the evening before I started. I thought, mediumship, which is connecting with deceased loved ones, really is not my forte. And I tend to encourage people to see people who are actually mediums, where that's like the thing that they do. And I almost talked about saying no mediumship tonight, but let's take a look and see what we can do with connecting with your mom. So first of all, when your mom comes through, she's showing me having a bit of a hard time breathing. It feels like lungs possibly had a lot of congestion with them. I've got a bit coming up around my throat here as well. And there's a feeling of like a soreness, like it's almost feeling very abrasive or having been abraded. So it feels like either your mom passed with something going on with her lungs, or she may have had challenges with her lungs while she was here. So possibly like an asthma or something like that. But I've got a lot coming up with lungs. And part of what she's showing me is that she's able to breathe now, like it doesn't feel constricted. She's showing me a fairly gentle energy with where she is now. And I suspect that part of that has to do with her having crossed over so recently. It does take time for spirit to build up energy to be able to come down and to connect. But I do have this sense of peace that's coming up around her. She keeps kind of coming back to, it feels like a piece of jewelry here. I'm seeing it feels like it's gold. It feels like it's small. And it feels like it's something that had some meaning to her. It looks like something that would have possibly been given to a young girl. I don't think a child, but maybe possibly like a young teenager, because it feels like it's fairly small and dainty. And she's showing me this as being something that's special and significant. And the sense of like, it feels like I don't know if it's a heart shape or if it's just close to the heart. But she's showing me this. She's wanting to really focus on this. I can't remember if I mentioned, but I'm seeing gold coming up with it as well. She's not wanting you to worry. She's showing me, I'm being pulled to a discomfort in my shoulder. So I don't know if you have issues with your shoulder. This doesn't feel like this is hers. But it feels like it's important to have this looked at and have this taken care of. I'm really wanting to focus on range of movement. It feels like possibly something isn't sitting properly in the joint. And she's showing me just making sure that you're taking care of that. The overall message is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well, to make sure you're not putting other people's needs in front of your own to the point where you're depleting yourself, because she shows me that you have a big heart. Oh, and that's possibly part of what's coming up with this necklace message as well, is that you have a big heart. Let's see, we're going to go to the messages from your angels, and we're just going to ask your mom to share a message for you through the cards this evening. Now, this is interesting. So we have the Maya card coming up here. And this wouldn't have been one of the cards that I would have expected. Schooling, study, and education help your life's purpose and personal growth at this time. The angels will guide you and help you with this process. So usually when this card comes up, it's encouraging people to take a look at higher education of some form. So going back to school and learning something. But this feels like this has to do more with something that you're already in the process of learning and focusing on. So she's really wanting to encourage this idea of continuing to learn. This could be learning more about yourself. This could be focusing on a hobby. It feels like this might also be something that's kind of filling in some time. And, everybody grieves in a different way, but it feels like this might be part of what she's encouraging for you, to help you with the grieving process that you're going through, to bring in another focus, something else to put energy into. But I do have lots of love that's coming up around her for you. As I said, it does feel like she's in a place of peace. I do see her having crossed over, but it feels like it's taking her a bit of time to build up the energy to come down, to connect. I would again encourage you to connect with somebody who does mediumship as a big part of the work that they do, because it feels like you'd be able to get more messages and more clarity from her than what I'm able to offer in the couple of minutes that we have together. But Sue, please do know that she loves you and that she is well on the other side. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Thanks, Sue. Let me see. I've got Nicole here. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining me. What can you tell me about my relationship with my mother? Okay, let's take a look and see what we have coming up. So first of all, when I connect, I have this kind of this pull together, and then maybe something that's creating a little bit of space. And then I have this kind of pull together, and then again, a feeling of creating a little bit of space. So when I tap in with relationship between you and your mom, it feels like there is kind of this back and forth. And I do have this sense of space or distance that's coming up between the two of you. But it feels like this is something that's being overcome. I'm also seeing kind of ups and downs like this. I want to call them kind of like mountains. So it feels like they're possibly in the past that there's been some up and down that has happened between the two of you. But I keep coming back to this push and pull. I want to say that there's a sense of things connecting and reconnecting, and that there's communication that's happening between the two of you, but I keep coming back to this push and pull. So it feels like there is the desire to connect on a deeper level, and I'm seeing that coming up for both of you, but just in different ways. It feels like there's a lot that you do to really understand your mom and to understand where she's coming from. It feels like that's actually been a pretty big part of the healing work that you've done as well, is to have this understanding of what and how and why. But I do see some healing that's happening there. And then I see something that almost looks like an adventure. Like it feels like I want to call it almost like a road trip. Like the movie Thelma and Louise is popping into my head. This is really kind of funny to admit in this way. I've never actually seen the movie, but the parts that I'm seeing are of like the adventure, the road trip, the doing of things. I know from other people that it doesn't end well, but that's kind of what I'm seeing is like this adventure part. So it feels like there's a really interesting dynamic between you and your mom. And again, I'm seeing the sense of wanting greater openness, wanting greater support, and greater communication. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck and just ask, what does Nicole need to know about her relationship with her mother? And let's see what we get. Interesting. So, the cards this evening aren't what I would have expected. So we have Archangel Shamuel here. This is the career transition card. Shamuel's message is, your life purpose is triggering a blessed career change. So there are a couple of things that come up for me with this. First of all, triggering is one of the words that's really jumping out at me. And so I'm wondering if part of what you're experiencing either now or in the past is aspects of triggering in relationship, or things that trigger you externally in your life now that kind of bring you into a place where things are unsettled. So it can take you from a positive place into a place where things are challenged. But also the Archangel, like Shamuel, helps and supports us with relationship on lots of different levels. Shamuel is one of the soulmate relationship angels who helps us and supports us in finding that. He can help and support us in creating peace within relationships as well. So I suspect that has more to do with why Shamuel is coming up, is to help provide that sense of peace between the two of you, so that there is more opportunity for building. Nicole, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love, support, and peace to you and to your mom. All right. Amber says, hi, Shelly. Amber, it's so good to see you. And we've got Shelly here. Hi, Shelly. I would like some guidance around my work in my home studio, yoga and energy healing. I haven't done anything during COVID because I haven't been confident to do so yet. Any help would be great. Shelly, I totally hear you where you're coming from. COVID has certainly thrown kind of a wrench into things, and it's been a bit of a challenge. But a big part of what I'm seeing for you over the next, I want to call this the next 6 weeks to 2.5 months. So the time frame that I have coming up is between now and kind of the middle to end of April. It feels like there's something that you're doing that's helping to build you, to build up. So it's almost like you're walking up steps, and I'm seeing this being something that's very successful. So it almost feels like you have a plan around how you want to work on coming back into a place where you are ready to be out there and to be doing and to be giving and to be sharing and to be connecting. It feels like part of what you're doing is an amalgamation of several different things. I have stuff that's coming up. It feels almost a bit like ceremony. And I know that isn't anything that you've specifically spoken about, but this feels like this has to do with some sort of opening around yoga practice that's also including some form of energy work as well. I'm not exactly sure what this is. This could be something that is of your own creation. It's part of how you're working and you're moving through things. But it feels like you're starting with yourself as your own first client. And I find that to be very true for anybody who's doing any sort of helping work or helping to facilitate healing for others, is that we tend to be our own first client. And so I'm seeing you focusing on yourself over the next couple of weeks. And then it feels like there are more people who are joining in. And I am seeing that there's more that you're building and growing with and developing. It feels like a big part of what you're focusing on is grounding as well. So I'm seeing you creating space in your studio, and I'm seeing you grounding within the studio space, and I'm seeing you energetically moving through class or moving through energy work that you're doing. And it feels like in this way, you're starting to bring that energy back into your studio space and you're inviting others into it. I also have a lot that's coming up around online work too. So I kind of doing and sharing. This could be like a video yoga class of some form, though it feels like it's like I'm seeing lighting. So it doesn't feel like it's kind of fly by night, but it feels like it's something that you're really focusing on to be giving and sharing with others. So you're on the right path, you're on the right track. As I said, the next 6 weeks to 2.5 months feel like they're going to be a really significant time frame for you. And I'm seeing a lot of growth and development, both personally and also in your work. Okay, so we're going to the Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card deck. So there's a lot of mermaid energy that's coming up around you. And also they are fabulous manifestors. And for things with work, it's fabulous to connect with them. So the card that we have here is Simplify Your Life. Eliminate clutter from your home and work life to balance the flow of activities. Yes, that feels like that's important, but that doesn't actually feel like it's the message that's coming up. One of the things, particularly when we're getting started or getting started again, is we feel like we need to have all of these different things in place in order to get started. But particularly with the type of work that you're doing, just getting started is really what you need to do. Is, you know, it's kind of move the need to have perfect website out of the way, remove the need to have your space in a perfect place and order. Focus more on the next step for me is to be giving and sharing and connecting with others. And once that comes into place, everything else becomes simple. So get rid of all of those. I really need to, in order to do this, I need to do X, Y, and Z. In order to do this, I just need to do it. Shelly, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love, and support your way. All right, we've got Kathy here. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining me. What can we do to get our neighbors to be pleasant to everyone? And Kathy's asking for the green deck. Okay, let's take a look and see. Um, so, so the imagery that I'm getting is, I don't know if you're familiar with this story. It's a kid's story, and it's about the lion with the thorn in his paw, and and basically this lion is incredibly cranky, and nobody can figure out why. Everybody's afraid of the lion, and this little tiny timid mouse finds that he has this thorn in his paw, and that is why he is so cranky. So when you ask about your neighbors and being nice to everybody, that's what I'm seeing, is that there's something, it feels like it is aggravating this person, and it's being exacerbated by the people around. So when it comes to getting the neighbor to be nice to people, it feels like the neighbor is probably needing some empathy, because there's something more that's going on that just isn't at the forefront. It's not readily apparent, but that feels like that's a big part of what's going on for your neighbors, for both of them. There's something else that's going on here. So the other thing that I would do, send them some love. And that can be a challenging thing to do, especially if they've been really mean or nasty or particularly challenging to deal with. It can be really difficult to send some love. But if you can come to a place of compassion, it feels like offering that compassion can be part of what helps to open things up. So compassion and connecting with them on a real level, on a personal level, outside of the challenges that you might be experiencing from another perspective. Let's just take a look and see what messages the angels have for you for dealing with the neighbors, dealing with challenging neighbors. What message is coming up for you, Kathy? So that's really interesting. We have the Astara card coming up here. You deserve the best. Reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, and don't compromise. So this again isn't the card that I would have expected to come up for the question that we're asking. But when I tap in with it feels like it's really important to not negotiate down with the interactions that you're having. Compassion does still feel like it's important, but also not permitting poor behavior. So continuing to call them on it, or if that hasn't been what has been happening so far, to start doing that when behavior is poor or challenging or is inappropriate. Make sure that you call them on it. Have compassion, but don't compromise. I just want to pull one more card. Yeah, again, this isn't a card that I would have expected, but I wanted to make sure that we had the right message for you. We have the Ariel card here, and Ariel talks about new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view the world and yourself. Allow your spiritual gifts to open through steady prayer and meditation. And you know what? It's interesting because I actually go back to the same message of compassion, of seeing the world in a different way, in a different perspective, looking to see what's happening on the other side to have a better understanding of what's going on, because it feels like from that perspective, you're then able to start moving forward. Right now, it feels very us against them, which is going to continue to back them into a corner. Again, thinking about that hurt and injured animal, there's a protection mechanism that comes to the forefront with that. Kathy, it was such a pleasure connecting with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of peaceful resolution for the situation that you're in too. All right, we've got Kai here. Hi, Kai. Thanks for joining me. Am I being guided to go back to school? The thought has been popping into my head recently. Yeah, I hadn't even finished reading your question, and I have this yes, 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 yes popping up. So it does feel like you're on the right path, on the right direction, and it feels like I'm being kind of torn because on the one hand, it feels like going back to school is going to help support you in something that you're already doing, but it is also opening up other avenues for you to explore as well. So it feels like you really have the option and the opportunity to go in a couple of different directions, which feels really exciting. So I do want to encourage you to look at going back to school. It feels like there might be something that you're needing to do as not a refresher, almost more like a prerequisite. So it feels like before you're able to start the program or the learning that you're wanting to do, that there's something that you need to refresh on. And it could be that this isn't something formal, but it could be that it's been a while since you've looked at some of the things that are prerequisites. And so I am seeing some studying that feels like it's coming up over the next couple of months before you're actually going back to school and getting into the swing of things. But man, it feels like a weight just kind of lifts off your shoulders. And I'm seeing releasing a lot of extra stuff too. So that feels really positive. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck. And we're just going to ask, what does Kai need to know about going back to school? Let me make sure. Yeah, going back to school. I wanted to make sure I had the whole question there. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so we have the Moon Cycles card. This is Archangel Haniel, and her message is, notice how the moon affects your energy and manifestations and capitalize upon these cycles. So we've talked a fair amount about the moon cycles and the energy of the moon over the last several years. And so we've recently had the new moon. The new moon is the time for manifestation, for planting seeds, for new ideas. And the full moon is the time when everything is lit up. You can't hide from the energy of the full moon. And it's all about releasing, letting go of things that no longer serve you, no longer support you. So we've just recently had the new moon. We're starting to come into that energy, or we will be coming into that energy of the full moon. So you're coming from a time of being passive and moving into a time of action. So now is a really great time to be looking at researching different options, taking a look to see where you're wanting to go, what you're wanting to do, like figuring out the courses and or the programs that you're wanting to invest in. But you're in a really great time and a really great spot for it. And I'm getting a lot of positive energy with it. So Kai, full steam ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure connecting with you, Kai. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. All right. Let me see. Whoops. That just kind of took me all over the place. So Tanya, I see you're asking a general question, like literally general. I don't do those. If you want to ask a specific question, I'd love to connect for you. Let me see. So, so Amber's just asked, she said she missed the beginning. What kinds of things can we ask? Ask a specific question. I don't do a lot with mediumship, but just be something specific. So career, work, finances, spiritual path, romance, relationship, partnership, you name it, we do it. All right. So we've got Karin here. Hi, Karin. Thanks for joining me. She says, hi, Erin. Missed you a lot. I missed you too. My dad passed, was unable to see him due to COVID. I'm getting my vaccination soon to be able to fly to South Carolina to move forward with his wishes. Any messages for me from him? Oh, so Karin, I'm so sorry about the passing of your dad and that you weren't able to be there. COVID has really been tough in so many different ways. And this is definitely one of them, with not being able to be with the people that we love, particularly at such a time. Let's just take a look and see what we've got coming up for you around what you need to be aware of with your dad. So as soon as I tap in, your dad's showing me that he's got a specific list of things. Like I'm actually seeing a list, and it's feeling fairly organized too. So it feels like there was a certain amount of preparation and planning that he's put into this, so things are as easy as possible for you. It feels like we're going to have to kind of shuffle things a little bit to find a couple of things, because there could be a couple of different lists. I'm not exactly sure what's on these lists, but it feels like it has to do with not only how things should be dispersed, but it also feels like possibly this is some form of asset or something along those lines that you're going to need to be aware of. But it feels to me like he's got things fairly well organized for you, which is awesome. Let's see what else we've got coming up with him. He's encouraging you to slow down. He's showing me that life has been busy. It's been incredibly full out. Not only with COVID, though I see you having been really busy with life around COVID, but it feels like even before then that there's a lot that you open up to, a lot that you give, and you go. And he's saying, just make sure that you take time to slow down, to relax, and not to overstress yourself. He's showing me a very laid back style. And I don't know that this was necessarily the way that he was when he was here, but it feels like this is part of the perspective that he has now, is that, life is meant to be lived, to experience, to enjoy, and not to work yourself to the bone until you pass and until you go. So he's really wanting you to make sure that you're enjoying life and not getting really caught up in all of the nitpicky things. I am seeing asking for some help. So it feels like if you're the person who, I can't think of the word, I guess the executor of the estate, he's showing me not to do it all on your own, but to make sure that you're getting some help and support with that as well, to make sure that things are as easy for you as possible, that there's not as much that you need to hold on to. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask what messages. Whoa, that was quick. Hold on. That was our jumper. Interesting. So the card that literally jumped out for you is the leadership card. This is Archangel Gabrielle. Her message is, it is time for you to assume your leadership power and position and lovingly guide others. So again, it feels like possibly part of the role that you're playing now in your dad's estate rather, is taking that leadership role, making sure that things are done properly, but at the same time, also delegating to others. So Archangel Gabriel is the angel of communication, really helps us to express ourselves in a way that people can hear us, can understand us, and it really helps to open up communication in terms of opening up people's ability to listen, to comprehend, and understand. So call on Archangel Gabriel, ask her for help and support. And also we've got Archangel Raziel popping through, pardon me, Archangel Azrael, not Raziel, Azrael. And Archangel Azrael is the angel who helps us with crossing over when it's our time to pass, but also helps and supports those of us who are left behind with the grieving process, with taking care of things. So call on Archangel Azrael, ask him for help and support over the next little while as you're moving through the whole process. Karin, I'm so grateful that you popped on this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and my sympathy for your dad's passing. Thanks for joining me. All right. Penny, again, I see that you're saying hello, hi, it's great to see you. Asking what I see for you in the future. If you want to ask a specific question about a specific area in your life, I'd love to connect with you and see what we've got going up. Okay, so we've got Tanya here. Hi, Tanya. Oh, perfect. I'm so glad you asked a specific question and you want us to connect with the Blue Mermaids deck. We are in such a fulfilled part of our lives. Pardon me. We are in such a fulfilled part of our lives. Are we going to excel? Oh, are things going to level out? I see. I understand what you're asking. Okay, so it feels to me like you're asking, or that you're saying that things are in a really good place right now. You're asking, are they going to continue to improve, or are they going to kind of balance out? Have we kind of like reached what we're going to reach? And it feels like there's a bit of a plateau that you're coming to now. So instead of full steam ahead, slow down a little bit to kind of find that balance. But it does feel like things are going to be picking up again. So it does feel like you're moving in a positive direction. I have May coming, May through kind of September, feel like they're going to be really busy. So the next couple of months, if you can carve out a bit of time for some downtime to chill, to relax, to rebuild, and to kind of come into an equilibrium, that feels really positive and beneficial because it feels like, as I said, May through September feels like it's going to be really, really busy. It's going to be on the go, but it is feeling really positive. You're just not going to have as much rest and as much downtime. Let's see, we're going to go to the mermaids and dolphins, and we're just going to ask what messages are, coming up for Tanya, and we've got a jumper. Actually, we've got two jumpers here. It's really interesting because they actually go very well together. So the first card that we have here is the Wait card. Don't rush into action right now. Bide your time for better results. To me, this feels like this is kind of a confirmation of the messages that we had, basically saying we need a bit of rest. Also, when this card comes up, it's usually because all of the information isn't apparent just yet. So possibly we're being asked to make some choices or decisions, but we don't have all of the relevant information that we need to make a truly informed decision. So instead of jumping into something with just 50% of what you need to know, hold off and wait until you have at least 80%. The next card that we have here is the A New Dawn card. The worst is now behind you and positive new experiences are on the horizon. It feels to me like this is confirmation again of the messages that we had coming up for you, but also possibly what you're feeling as well, that you've really turned a corner. Things are feeling more positive. It's almost like the table has been cleared in front of you, so there aren't any obstacles, and you can say, okay, well, this is really what we want to be doing. This is what we want to be creating, and this is the direction we want to go in. So make sure that you're focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want, as that can bring that in. Also, particularly if people have experienced times of challenge and recently have experienced times of challenge, there can be kind of the feeling, I can't believe that this is true, or I can't believe it's as good as it is, or I can't believe that this wonderful thing is happening to me. Be careful about using sentiments and statements like that. Instead, focus on, man, I am so grateful that things have been going so well for us. And focus more on the gratitude and the expectation that more will continue. And Tanya, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Let me see. And Dot saying hello. Hi, Dot. It's so good to see you. And Polly, great to see you too. Thanks for popping on this evening. Let me see. We've got Nania. Nania, I'm so sorry. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. She is asking when I will meet my future husband and something about him. Okay, well, let's take a look and see what we have around romance and partnership. So it's interesting because it actually feels like you may already know this person. I'm seeing his energy already coming up pretty strongly around you, but it feels like there's a bit of a delay in terms of relationship really moving forward. I'm seeing not the next 6 months, not the next year, 18 months. I've got something popping up around 18 months, and I've got something else popping up around kind of 2.5 years from now. So, sometimes it's difficult for me to share that message because it feels like it's a really long time, but I'm actually seeing it going very quickly. It feels like there are other things that you're focusing on, that you're putting energy into, which is really exciting, which is really positive. It feels like the person that you are now and the person that you will be when you connect with this person has shifted. So it feels like there's a lot that you've released, that you've let go of. I've got a lot that's kind of coming off of your heart. It feels like there's a lot that's being released from your shoulders. And so it feels like things have really shifted significantly for you over the next 1.5 years. And that's part of what's allowing this person to come into your life. When I ask about the person that you're connecting with, he's actually coming through kind of shyly. I don't think that that's actually part of his personality, but it feels like initially he might be kind of quieter, possibly a little more shy. But once you get to know him, he really opens up. He really relaxes. I see a lot coming up with his smile. He smiles very easily and readily, and it feels like there's a bit of mischievousness that's coming up around him as well. At the same time, he shows me that those aren't all the time things. He shows me that he tends to be a fairly serious person, but he does have a kind of a bit of a twinkle in his eye that shows me that, he might be serious, but is also, it's almost like he's sharing kind of a joke with you as well. I suspect part of the reason that you aren't connecting faster is geographically, it feels like there's some distance between the two of you, and that feels like that has to do with the timeline and the time frame that I'm seeing for you. So I'm going to ask if there's going to be a connection that happens before then. So as I said, it almost feels like you already know this person, but I don't think that you know him well. And it also feels like, there was something that was just sitting there and it just disappeared. So as I said, it feels like there is a geographic distance between the two of you. It does feel like there is going to be a connection before you meet. So I'm wondering if possibly you're meeting through a friend, and maybe like you're talking with each other beforehand. It could be some form of online dating, or some sort of matchup, something kind of along those lines. He's showing me that he does work. He has work that he does, but it feels like possibly there's some schooling or some education that he's going through at the moment right now. But there is lots of growth. It's interesting because what he's showing me is very two-dimensional. There's not a lot of depth to what he's showing me. I suspect that the closer that the two of you become, the closer to the time that the two of you are going to be connecting in person, feels like there will be more information that comes up. But right now, what he's showing me is that he is a very friendly person, though kind of shy. He is intelligent. It feels like he is career driven, and that he feels like he's focused on his career right now, that there's possibly some training and some education that he's going through at the moment, either to better himself in his career, or that there's possibly a switching of careers that's happening right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of the reason that it takes a while for the two of you to meet and connect. But it does feel like it's a positive relationship and connection, and I am seeing the two of you really enjoying the time that you have together. Let's take a look. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck and just see what messages are coming up for you. And just ask, what does Nania need to know about her future husband. So we've got the claircognizance card coming up here. This is Archangel Uriel. His message is pay attention to thoughts and ideas that come to you as they are answered prayers. So claircognizance is one of the 4 primary ways that we receive intuitive messages and information. And it literally means clear knowing rather, and it tends to manifest itself as thoughts and ideas kind of popping into your head. So if an idea pops into your head, hey, maybe I should go to the corner store and make sure that I'm wearing my favorite shirt. Or often the things that will pop into your head are actions that you need to take. So important to follow that, to pay attention to that. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if when you do connect, that it feels like you have known each other for a long time. Again, I have this feeling, it almost feels like you do know each other already. So if you don't actually know each other now, it will feel very easy to be together, to spend time together. It feels like, again, like you already know each other. Tanya, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure connecting with you. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. Annika's saying hi. It's so good to see you. And thank yous from Sue and smiles from Nicole. Hi. Let me see. Okay, so we've got Devaya here. Hi, Devaya. Thanks for joining me. Devaya's wondering if there's anything she can look forward to in life. Let's take a look and see what we've got coming up for you, Devaya. So first of all, I'm seeing sitting up. So it feels like possibly some time has been spent lying down. I'm seeing kind of cuddling and kind of hibernating and kind of curling up. And so part of what I'm seeing is creating space where you are able to sit, where you are able to be, where you are able to really ground yourself. I have a lot that's coming up around like tea or coffee. This feels like this is something that you are sipping, you are experiencing, you are enjoying. A big part of what I'm seeing is that you're focusing on the things that are right in front of you that may not seem really big, but that they are simple. So for example, it could be the taste or the flavor of the tea that you're drinking. Moving forward and beyond that, I have a couple of younger energies that are coming up around me. I have the feeling of a young or younger girl who's kind of coming up and cuddling up against you. This feels like this is a child, and it feels like this is a daughter actually that's coming through. So I have the energy of a child, and this feels like this is a daughter who's already here. And I know that we've spoken in the past, and I'm pretty sure that you do have a daughter, and this feels like her coming up, and I'm feeling her kind of pulling your arm and tugging your arm. She's wanting to connect. She's wanting to do things. I'm just kind of taking a look and seeing what else we have coming up here. When I connect with partnership and relationship, it feels like we've got things that feels like that's an area where there's the opportunity for improvement in the future, but I'm also seeing like a bit of a wall that's coming up here as well. I'm wanting to create a bit of boundary there. So that feels like that might be a place of a bit of challenge. When I look to see what else is coming up, I'm actually seeing that there's a new project that you are putting some energy into. So it's almost like, what is it? I do have something that feels like it's coming up around food, but then I'm seeing something that looks like it's graphic related. I'm seeing something that you're creating, and it feels like you're creating something on a physical level or something that you can actually see, that you can see that there's some sort of process or progress that's being made, and it feels like this is really helping to shift how you're feeling about life, and it feels like it's bringing some encouragement, some life, some passion, some love, and it feels like there's a deepening connection that's happening. Like I'm seeing you kind of rooting in and grounding. So when you ask, is there anything that you can look forward to? It feels like there are things like I'm seeing focusing on the simple things that you enjoy. I'm seeing people trying to engage, interact, and wanting to connect with you. And it also feels like part of what you're doing is focusing on something that I want to say that brings you joy, and it feels like this might be something that you're pulling from the past, and that you're giving new life to it. Again, there's a very strong creative process that's coming up here, and I'd encourage you to connect with your daughter around it as well, because it feels like it's a project that the two of you are working on together, and that it may even start out as being something that she's wanting to do that you're focusing on with her. But I am seeing it being something that's bringing light and love and life back into life. We're going to go to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask, what does Devaya need to know right now to move forward? And so the card that we have here is the Beloved One card. This is Archangel Shamuel. I am helping you with your spiritual soulmate relationship. I have first of all, a lot of love that's coming with this card. Archangel Shamuel helps us and supports us in balancing either existing relationships, inviting new relationships in. Soulmate relationship can be with another person that we have on a romantic level. Can also be relationships that we have with other people in our lives. So for me, soulmates are not only romantic partners, but they're also the people who have come into our lives to help us learn, grow, that there are lessons that we learn from. So soulmates can be our family members, they can be friends, they can be the people that we really can't stand because they're people who have brought something that we've needed to see, needed to learn to understand. So basically, Archangel Shamuel is saying, I'm helping you and supporting you with these soulmate relationships, partnerships, and connections that you have. The other aspect to soulmate relationship is the connection that we have with our higher self. And it feels like there's an opening that's happening here for you that's helping to create new pathways, new connections, and renewed joy in life. So call on Archangel Shamuel, ask him for help and support in finding the things that will help to bring joy into the experience that you're having in the physical world. Devaya, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way, and lots of blessings to you. Thanks for joining me. All right, let me see. Annika, if you want to ask a specific question, I'd love to connect with you. Let me see. So we've got JC here. Hi, JC. It's always good to see you. Thanks for joining me. JC is saying, I need advice on my feelings that someone is doing bad medicine. Okay, let's take a look and see what we have going on here. So anytime I have somebody who's asking about like a bad medicine, or who's sending something that is unwanted, unpleasant, I always want to focus on connecting with God, source, universe, whatever your belief system is, whatever feels best and right to you. In strengthening that bond and connection, you raise your energy and your vibration, and it makes it impossible, is the word that I want to use, for lower energies and lower vibrations to have an effect and to have an impact on you. When we are, basically, the way that energy works is when we are in balance, we vibrate kind of here, say. When something is out of balance, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so this can be connection to God, source, universe, this can be something physically that we're experiencing in our body and illness, then what should be here actually drops like down to here, and it becomes really slow. When we connect with God, source, universe, nature, with that energy, it has a really high and fast vibration, and it helps to raise us up energetically. When the energy is low and slow, that's when negative things can happen, when things like bad medicine would have power and influence over us. In connecting with that high vibration and that high energy, that low that low vibration, that low energy can't touch us. And so when questions like that come up, that's what I go to, is connect with God, source, universe, connect with nature, connect with love, focus on love. One of the things that we can go to is go to a place of compassion for whoever may be doing bad medicine, or may be sending out things that aren't positive or are intending to be harmful. The other aspect that I'm seeing is I'm seeing being really clear cut with boundaries as well. This is my space, and anything that is negative or hurtful bounces off of my space and is transmuted into love and goes back to the source of those challenging energies. For me, transmuting or changing into something that is loving and positive is part of the way that we stop it from repeating and building. By sending back negativity towards negativity, it makes negativity bigger. By sending something that is positive back towards negativity, it dilutes the negativity and it decreases it. So anything that is positive and loving can come into my bubble. Anything that is negative or harmful or hurtful bounces off of my bubble and is transmuted into love and is sent back to the origin, into the source of it, to perpetuate love and not negativity. When I ask what's coming up, it does feel like there's something that is needing to be released, but it doesn't feel like it's coming up around you specifically. It actually feels like it's coming up around a person or a situation around you. And so what I would do is surround that person and that situation with that energy of God, source, universe, whatever your belief system is. I'm seeing calling in help. So not only from those who are around you physically, where there is love, but I'm also seeing calling in help and support from ancestors, from universe, from angels. Again, whatever your belief system is, I'm seeing that there is support that's coming up around, and it's feeling quite fierce as well. In fact, I've got I have like an animal. It feels to me like this is a wolf that's coming up, and I'm seeing a lot of power coming up around that wolf, as well as a support for you and for family and anybody who is being negatively impacted. JC, let's take a look and see what messages are coming up for you. I'm going to go back again to the Archangel Oracle card deck, and we're just going to ask, what does JC need to know around the feelings of someone doing bad medicine? You see, so I realized that I didn't completely answer the question that you were asking, because you were asking about how to deal with the feelings that you have. When feelings come up strongly for us like that, it feels like it's important to recognize it, and to recognize that it is a message that is coming up, that it's something that we want to be aware of, and it feels like it's important to take action. So we did talk about a couple of action steps that can be taken, connecting with God, source, universe, connecting with nature, creating boundaries around self. And if it's feeling like this is attached to somebody else or to another circumstance or situation, surrounding that person or situation with that love, connecting with people who are physically here, and also those who are on the other side, asking for help and support in bringing this person into a place of love and peace and healing. And again, instead of sending back negativity towards negativity, sending back love and compassion. And the card that we have here is the Healthy Lifestyle card. This is Archangel Raphael. His message is: eat a healthful diet, get adequate sleep, and exercise regularly for optimal health. I mean, Archangel Raphael is the healing angel. He particularly works with us on a physical health level and physical health point of view, but he does help and support us from emotional, mental point of view as well. So what I would say is, yes, healthful living is definitely important. So making sure that you are eating properly and regularly and getting enough sleep and all of the things that we talked about. But also this feels like this is confirmation that Archangel Raphael is around helping and supporting in releasing and healing the things that are out of balance, and providing protection as well. JC, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support to you. Thanks again for popping on this evening. We've come to the end of tonight's Tune In and Tune Up Thursday. I'm Erin Lee of heavenlymessenger.com. I'm so grateful for the time that you've taken to spend with me this evening. It was a pleasure connecting with you. I do have personal readings available. You can connect with me on my website, bookingwitherin.com. There you can choose a reading that's via phone, Skype, or Zoom. I'm available in different time zones. So if you are if you're around the world, we can connect. If you're in the Comox Valley, we can connect that way as well. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending big hugs, lots of love and support your way. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great evening.